Hi there. So I'm making this video to talk about an issue that a lot of you have probably noticed, which is instability when exiting your cockpit. From what I've gathered so far, when you actually exit the cockpit, your ship settings seem to revert back to default. So for example, if you have your thruster acceleration at 30% and then exit the cockpit, your ship will go back to 100%, which is like the default. And it's the same with cruise control and things like that. Any setting you have, it'll revert to default as soon as you exit, including decoupled mode or anything. When you actually get back in the pilot seat, it reverts back to what you had previously. So if you exited the cockpit with 30% thruster acceleration, the ship would go to 100%, and then when you get back in the seat, it would go back down to 30%. So this means if you have multiple pilots in the same ship, like a co-pilot or a pilot, and they take turns in the seat, it'll save that pilot's individual settings and not a ship-wide setting that saves. And I think what this is causing is when you actually exit a ship after you've landed on, say, 20% thruster acceleration and the ship has come down gradually, when you actually exit that pilot seat, not only is there a slight physics jump with the ship itself, but also the thruster acceleration has gone to 100%. So that ship is going to potentially slide or take off. If you're on a slope, it's going to start drifting off sideways. And this is the behavior you see because the ships aren't saving your settings. That ship, when you exit, you're on 10% thruster acceleration. You don't expect to have enough thrust to take off. But as soon as you exit, suddenly you'll see your ship jump or drift and things like that. And on top of that, there's also the general physics problem where the actual ship will go through surfaces slightly when you exit the cockpit. So for example, if I get out of the cockpit, my landing legs will drop through the ground temporarily and then recover. But there are situations, for example, if you tip upside down and exit the cockpit, your ship will go completely through the ground all the way and you'll literally be under the planet's surface. So there's the fundamental issue here, and it all seems to be linked to me. And I think if they can make the ship settings save, so between pilots, whoever's using the ship settings should remain the same. So if you want to leave decoupled mode on and just drift through space, you should be allowed to do that. But at the moment, as soon as you exit that seat, it puts thruster acceleration to 100, goes back to coupled mode, and the ship will always come to a stop, whatever happens. The only way you can make that ship keep going is to just turn off the engines while it's moving. So I think they really need to work on getting those settings to save based on the ship rather than the pilot. And I think that will, in itself, prevent a lot of the issues we're seeing when exiting pilot seats.